Okay, guys, calm down. A lot is being said, a lot is being misconstrued. Calm down. I'm a human being. I'm allowed to have my opinion, much like any of you all. Am I the guy who's after Virat Kohli who hates him? Am I Rohit Sharma's PR guy? Poof! There's so much going on. Let's get into it completely now. I have been listening and receiving a lot of hate over the last few days, and it has been I've been through these experiences before, but I'm someone who likes to have conversations. And guys, मैं एक इंसान हूँ यार, मेरा खुद का ओपिनियन मैं रख सकता हूँ। और मैं एक इंटरव्यू में था, एंड बीइंग इन एन इंटरव्यू आई एम अलाउड टू बी ऑनेस्ट एंड स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड एंड शेयर माय ओपिनियन एज आई बिलीव व्हाट माय ओपिनियन इज। एंड आप अगर वो इंटरव्यू पूरी तरह से देखेंगे, देन यू विल सी दैट आई हैव एक्चुअली I have actually spoken from a place of just being completely myself, as authentic as I can possibly be. I've spoken about varied kind of things within that interview. So I was invited to Lallantop to do a podcast, and generally, by nature, this is how I am. This is who I am. I don't ask for what the questions are going to be. I go pretty much, as is. And I think 95% of the times, I've never really asked what questions are going to come in a podcast, what I'm going to be asked, what the narrative is going to be. I just go as authentically as I am, as honest as I can be, and as straightforward as I can be. That's just who I am. To 95%, 98% of any of my interviews or podcasts, unless those interviewees or interviewers or platforms are super controversial, I don't necessarily ask for questions beforehand. So 95, 97% of the time, I just go not knowing what's going to happen. I'll just take it as it comes and be as authentic as I can be. That's generally how I have operated and I operate as a person. And with Lallantop, I really enjoyed the interview simply because it was very varied. We spoke about different aspects of my life. We spoke right from cricket, which I predominantly thought it was going to be a lot of cricket, but a lot of my personal life, my family life, my depression, what I'm doing now. What else was asked? My case that's going on. A lot of things was asked about, but I spoke to everything as authentically as possible, as honestly as possible. At no point did I know that I was going to be asked A particular question or I was going to ask B particular question. I just went there and was like, okay, I'm here for a couple of hours. I'm just going to be honest and let's see what comes. So in that interview, I was asked a series of different kind of questions, and in them, I shared my opinion. And guys, as a human being, I'm allowed to have my opinion. Yeah, as an individual human being, I still believe we live in a world where I'm allowed to have my own opinion and not have to receive hate for it. I'm allowed to, say what I think as honestly and as authentically as possible, and uh, not have to receive the backlash. As in I reject the backlash. As in I believe we should live in a world where we agree to disagree with each other. And you guys don't agree with me, I completely respect that. Genuinely, I respect that. As in it's fine. As in you feel one way and I feel another way, and we can say, you know what, this is what works for me, this is what works for you. Let's move on. Let's agree to disagree and move on, right? I feel like Virat's style of leadership was perhaps more exclusive than inclusive. You feel something else. Great. No worries. This is my opinion, and you're entitled to yours. And I respect yours. You respect mine. We'll move on, you know? And that's how I would, as in that's how it should be. I think we're more and more living in a world where we're less acceptable or less accepting of people's opinions. And I think that we should have a conversation about that. I don't think it's necessarily healthy to live in a world where just because you don't agree with someone, you have to cancel them or you have to spew hate and venom at them, right? There's nothing wrong with somebody having their own opinion, right? Today, there are different types of leaders. There are leaders who believe that you should have a 90-hour work week. There are other leaders who believe that you should have a 120-hour work week. And then there are leaders who believe that you should have a 4-day work week. All of them work, right? Choose what works for you, right? choose which is the most healthiest for you, right? Which one works for you? And that's what I was speaking to. I was speaking to the style of leadership rather than a person or a human being, right? I have always spoken highly about Virat as a player. I think he's one of the greatest ODI batters in the world, and I think I've said that on record, if I can remember correctly, that I think he's one of the greatest white ball players to have ever played the game. And um, I even as early as 2 weeks ago, I've said that Virat is going to score runs by the buckets. And when people ask, should Virat retire? He's not scored runs in the last 5 years in Test cricket. He's averaging 30. I've said no. He's got a good 3 years left in him, if not more. If he's got the hunger, he should continue to play because he's a legend of the game. He deserves to play, right? It's not about Virat. I love Virat, the player. I've appreciated Virat, the human being, because I think he's a very evolved human being, because I've known him from a very young age and from a very different perspective. And I think he's a very, very evolved human being. But I have my opinion about his style of leadership. It doesn't agree with me. So I share that. I believe that, for example, someone like when I spoke about Yuvraj Singh, with Yuvi's instance, I wasn't talking about his comeback. I was talking about a legend like him getting a send off that he deserved to get, and I believe that someone like them deserve to have the kind of send off that Rohit deserves or Virat deserves, irrespective of what kind of form they're in or what they're not in, right? You have to understand culturally, we start comparing ourselves to teams like Australia and England and every other country. You have to understand that individually each country is so different, and just within our country we're such diverse people that there are diverse emotions and mediums that exist here. So for us in that to exist within that system, we have to find a way that is appeasing to everyone in our culture. Forget about other countries. Like just in our culture, to find it appeasing, like we have to celebrate our stars, guys who succeed within our culture, to be able to celebrate them, to be able to give them the due that they deserve. And irrespective, and I still believe, irrespective of what kind of form Rohit is in, I still believe he deserves to have the send off. Irrespective of what kind of form Virat is in, I believe he deserves it. He's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. He deserves to have a send off. Similarly, I believe that Yuvi deserved to have a send off, which he didn't get, and at that point, Virat could have afforded it, is what I felt as a leader. And that is my opinion, right? That is all there is to it. Nothing else. Absolutely nothing else, right? As far as Rayudu is concerned, for that matter, he's a dear friend. I've known him from the age of 9 or 10. I've played with him my entire life. I have actually played my first India game under his captaincy in under 17 India. He was captain when I first played Junior India. I played under his captaincy in under 19. So I know Rayudu very, very closely and I hold him very dear. I love the guy. And for me, I know Rayudu inside and out. You guys know Rayudu from a very outside perspective, but I know Rayudu as to who he is as a person and who he is from here. And I know the impact it had on him when he had everything at home and then at the last minute the door was shut on him. Imagine you guys are going to go on a work trip that would elevate your career, right? And you've worked very hard to get to that place. You've deserved and earned that spot. And then 1 week before going, you've been picked. You've been given your placard. You've been given your wristbands. You know you're going. But 1 week before leaving, the door closes on you without any reasons. Imagine the kind of impact it will have on you as a human being. That is all I spoke to, right? I spoke to these aspects within the Indian cricket fraternity. Now, whether Rohit was captain or whether Virat was captain or whether Dhoni was captain, it does not matter. It matters that an individual went through this and experienced through this during somebody's leadership. And that is what I was speaking to. I wish he didn't have to go through it. I wish it was handled differently, because that, as a human being, if you go by the example that I've just shared with you, can give you an understanding of the extent of impact it can have on a human being, right? And how does he navigate or she navigate through life after the fact? And that is what I was talking to. One more thing I would like to perhaps talk about is also about the Ashwin thing. I was fact-checked, and I want to put my hand up and say thank you for fact-checking me. Like I said, I went there with the mindset of doing an interview, not knowing what the questions were going to be. I thought it was going to be predominantly slightly about cricket, my journey, and a few other things personally, because of knowing the kind of conversations that happen on Lallantop. I didn't have my facts right. I didn't do my analysis. So generally, as an analyst, as a commentator or a broadcaster, I do a lot of studies as far as my facts are concerned, my analysis are concerned. And I was off on my analysis with Ashwin. He played the first World Test Championship final. He didn't play the second one in in Oval, at the Oval. And that was under Rohit's captaincy. And I said that how can you not, like for me, and I spoke to that tournament, right? I spoke to that final where I said, hey, on Oval, where a wicket starts turning after the second or third day, how do you not play a guy who's actually helped you get to the World Test Championship final? And imagine that again, y'all are seeing just the surface level. Go behind the surface, go deeper than the surface a little bit, and y'all will see that the kind of impact it has and a compounding effect that impact has on a player over a period of time, right? What happened eventually? He retired when we are saying why instead of why not, right? I feel he's retired a couple of years early. I felt that Ashwin had a few years left in him. And I believe someone like him deserved to get a send off. And maybe he felt, and I saw something recently, maybe a day or so before, where he said that he didn't want a send off because he felt if I deserved to be in the side and then got a send off, I would accept it. But if I was made to feel I didn't deserve it and then I was going to be given a send off, I didn't want it. Amazing, right? What a human being. But those are the things that I was actually speaking to, and the fact that the kind of impact that these decisions have on a player over a period of time, right? So I was speaking to different styles of leadership more than anything else. So as far as Ashwin is concerned, thank you for fact checking me. I will be a lot more prepared when it comes to these kind of situations in the future. I can assure you of that. All right, guys. As far as Rohit Sharma is concerned, and all the people saying that I am doing Rohit Sharma's PR, guys, Rohit is, I wouldn't say Rohit is a friend. Rohit is an acquaintance, a teammate that I've played a certain amount of cricket with. But I would say go on Google and try and find a picture of me and Rohit in a casual setting. You wouldn't find it. I think 98 to 99% or 100% of the pictures will be of Rohit and me in that partnership when he scored 264. Rohit, I have no stake in Rohit's life. I have no stake in Virat's life. I have no stake in Yuvi's life. Rayudu's a dear friend. Yuvi is a dear friend who I really care about because he took care of me when I got into the team, as a young guy. He looked out for me. So that whatever I've said comes from that place of care and concern and love for these guys more than anything else. So as far as Rohit is concerned, I can tell you, we're just acquaintances, nothing more, nothing less. So another thing I'd like to talk to about is, we live in a world where today opinions aren't necessarily appreciated if they don't align to the narratives of certain people, or it doesn't in general align with narratives of the general consensus, right? And I would like to say that, I've always been honest, I've always been straightforward, I've always been as authentic as I possibly can be. And to be honest, if you go and watch the entire interview, it's one of the nicer interviews I did, because one was I was really impressed with the way I spoke Hindi, to be very honest. I thought I would struggle with communicating my Hindi, but I thought I did fairly well. But I think just the diverse questions that I answered in that, and I thought I was genuinely being honest and putting forth my opinion. And I've generally not been the type of person who tries to pander to the narratives that exists in the world. I try and just put out honestly what I believe and what I feel, and back it up with facts or information that I have. And you'll have to understand that as supporters of Indian cricket, and even me as a supporter of the Indian cricket, I have the pleasure and privilege of being on the inside a little bit. So I have a little bit more details than perhaps the next person or a regular fan has, right? So a lot of this stuff comes from a lot of deep information as well. It doesn't come from necessarily a bad place or a vindictive place. It comes from a very honest place based on who I am as a person and how I operate as a person, right? So from me, you will always get my opinion and what I feel and what I think about things based on how I've observed things. And even in the interview, guys, go and watch that interview again, you will see at all points I've said this is my preference or this is my observation. I've prefixed everything that I've said with saying these things. Now, if clips are pulled out of context and presented, then it'll make it look like, oh, this guy's come here with an agenda. That has not been the case. I have no agenda besides wanting Indian cricket to succeed over and over and over and over and over again. And I want Indian cricket to do well always, right? So if what you're looking for is honest opinions and just my opinion, then you'll find it here on my channel at all points. To be very honest, full disclosure, I was called to multiple different avenues for interviews or follow-up interviews on this podcast or interview, and I've refused them all because I was like, I'm not doing this for attention. That was never the intention. The intention was to be honest and to be authentic, and that's what I was trying to be, and that's all I tried to be. So I think as far as opinions are concerned, you don't agree with mine, completely respect it, guys. Genuinely, I completely respect it. You have every right to not agree with my opinion. But let's agree to disagree. Let's live in a world where we agree to disagree, right? Let's perhaps, I'm sure a lot of you all have kids much like we do, much like I do, right? And don't you want your kids to live in a world where everyone has varied opinions, but everyone works with what works for them? And they can exist in a world where they can agree to disagree with people rather than have their lives cancelled out because of not having an opinion or not having the same idea or opinion that somebody else has, right? And that's what I'm endeavoring to do. So, which is also why I'm saying, hey guys, I respect the fact that you don't agree with me. I love it. It's fine. Thank you so much for bringing it to my attention. Let's agree to disagree. It's all good, genuinely. And as always, I'm always open to having conversations. I love having conversations. My wife, gives me a really hard time saying that you love talking about stuff. And I do. I genuinely love talking about stuff. I love having conversations. I like breaking them down. I like understanding concepts. I'm quite analytical in general as a person. That's just who I am. I'm always open to having conversations. And, maybe soon I'll start something where we can interact on a one-on-one basis, and we can actually have conversations that'll actually make this more an exciting ride for all of us, because I have strong opinions, I can tell you that. So, guys, that's it. That's all I wanted to share with you guys. So thank you for giving me the space to share with you all genuinely what actually happened and transpired during the course of that whole interview and after the fact, and give me the space to clear my narrative. I would love to understand what kind of leadership styles y'all like to exist in and to operate in, and what kind of a leader y'all perhaps are. Because this is something I truly enjoy, and I really want to know from y'all what y'all enjoy. What kind of leadership do y'all like? An inclusive one, an exclusive one, a different one? As in, there are different styles of leaderships. So if you can get a conversation going on that, I'd love to hear from you guys. So till the next one, I will see you guys really soon. Take care. Keep well. Peace.